Hello, and welcome to a post E3 very special Game Buzz where we're going to be taking a look at each of the 5 press conferences slash pre-recorded presentations, Nintendo, that happened over the last 48 hours at E3. I'm Matt Gardner, and I'm joined here once again by Jonathan Lester.
Hi there.
And by Carl Phillips.
Hello.
And Menfolk, we predicted last time that this, I think Carl, you put it quite nicely that this was E3. This E3 was Sony's to win, possibly Nintendo's to steal, and for Microsoft to really sort of fix all the bad press that came out of there.
I think my exact words were it was Sony's to lose, Nintendo's to steal, and Microsoft's to gain, pretty much. But the way you put it was pretty much how it kind of almost turned out, apart from the Nint thing.
Yeah.
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 Well, let's take it all the way back. Let's time travel. We're not wooblying.
Never.
No, that's just so 2011.
We're now on Girlwood. That's it. Yeah.
Girlwood.
No more,
Hashtag
no more
Girlwood.
Well, the big question then is, let's go back in time. Did Microsoft's press conference give you surprise Girlwood?
It was better than I was expecting it to be. In fact, generally all round, I think all the presses were better this year than they were last year. Although, as John kind of pointed out to me, they were pretty bad last year.
Last year was a shit show. I mean, let's not pull any punches here. We just got guns and violence, and guns and drums and violence, and dubstep last year. And I will say, actually, I thought Microsoft's presser this year was very good.
Yes, I agree.
In terms of, taken in isolation, taken on its own merits, and especially compared to every single other presentation that they've ever held in a public venue, it was absolutely fantastic. They promised to deliver games, and that is exactly what we got.
Yep. Games
for both the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One, and even Windows 8.
Yes. Which was good.
Yeah, the thing is, it was good because they showed us they showed us a lot. Well, they showed us a lot of games. There was definitely a lot of quantity. They showed us a couple of the only 2 games they bothered revealing. They gave us a very confusing look at Quantum Break, and totally refused to actually explain what that game actually is or show any gameplay.
We got to see Sam Lake's face though, and that's always amuses me.
Yeah, that's very cool. They've shown us a view, or just a big old developer diary for Forza 5?
Forza 5.
Which is going to have cars in it, and they're going to look very good. And driver tars. Yes, there are a lot of made-up words in all of the press conferences. And yeah, they then proceeded to show a sort of montage reel of just game after game after game from a few first-party, but mainly third-party studios.
Well, that was kind of the no doubt we'll return to this point in greater depth as well later on when we discuss Sony. But there was a lot of for an expo that promised us exclusives. There were a lot of third parties hogging the stage, like non-exclusive third-party titles hogging the stage in both Microsoft and Sony's press conferences, I thought. Because immediately the confusion was, wait, is this an exclusive? No, it's not.
Yeah, well, they started with Metal Gear Solid 5, didn't they? And let's face it, we all loved that trailer, and then Kojima turned up for the most pointless appearance I think I've ever seen.
It was more symbolic than anything else.
Turned up and was like, hey, where am I? Where's the Sony conference? I don't know. I just got on the bus and now I'm here. So, there was that. There was actually a fantastic, I think of all the games they showed, I think the one that's got us mainly excited, I think I'm speaking for you as well here, Carl, is probably Titanfall.
Absolutely. Mechs, vertical combat. It's just, I thought it looked really, really good.
Yes, and I think the reason it looked good was because unlike almost all of the other games in show, they actually showed unedited gameplay.
Yes.
And that was something I thought was sadly, because I will say they showed a lot of really fun stuff, including that fun little pre-rendered CG trailer for a colourful game from Insomniac. Gosh, that sounds familiar. We've seen something like that before.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment.
But they were very reticent, apart from Titanfall and Dead Rising 3, to actually show us these games running and to show us actually what to expect from these games.
One of my sort of highlights, I guess, and I really just wanted to know more about it, was Project Spark.
Yes, definitely.
Which you know, we've been banging on that Microsoft needed some Play, Create, Share, and now they've got and now it looks like they're going to have Play, Create, Share Remix, because you can remix stuff that other people build as well. I don't know how annoying that will get, provided you don't have to save over it. But yeah, it's high time something like that came to a Microsoft system. But it, as with pretty much every next gen thing we saw, truly next gen thing we saw, it wasn't really explained enough, and I found that the press conference format for all of for a lot of those sort of next gen reveals fell flat because there wasn't enough room to explain really ambitious concepts in sort of bombast environments.
Yeah, we've been saying this for some time. Like, the E3 stage is a great big bombastic sort of glutted, sort of mass appeal, ridiculous, jumbled, garbled mess. So it's absolutely not the right platform to really do anything other than showing us lots of explosions.
It's just kind of galling, really, because we were railing against that last year, and we kind of proved marketers' points.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a whole other discussion as to whether E3 is really all that relevant. Publishers and console manufacturers seem to think it is, but you know, as anything, it comes down to actually being able to try these things out that's going to count. But yeah, the thing that made Project Spark stand out for me was the simple fact that we're going into this new generation, but actually Microsoft basically just brought along a bunch of shooters and driving games. Like, we've had those before, we've seen those on other platforms, we've got a few of those in our games collections already, but Project Spark seemed to be the only thing that said to me, hey, look, I'm an exciting new next generation concept that's only possible on next gen systems, using Smart Glass, using Kinect, playable through Windows 8 devices and potentially PC as well. So, you know, that was tremendously exciting. I think that could be a huge deal, especially since it's free to play.
Yes.
You know, depending on how they handle that could be great. And I'm certainly more excited about that than I am, sorry about this, but Killer Instinct. Oh, Killer Instinct. You know what? I quite like Killer Instinct. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a huge fan of Killer Instinct, really, but I enjoyed the original games. They were good for a laugh. I'm not necessarily sure that they were ever the best fighting games out there, but they were a whole heap of fun.
Yeah, but it's a wormhole back to the good old days of Rare.
But it's rare. But it's
so
not.
Rare.
But it's rare. Not, though, because it's being developed by Double Helix Games. I'm afraid, which is a bit of a surprise, because they failed to mention that at the press conference. And Killer Instinct, you know, they said, yeah, Rare is great. We're going back to the good old Rare times, but it's being developed by the same people who made Front Mission Evolved, which was a honking pile of poo, Green Lantern Rise of the Manhunters, and Battleship.
Yay!
Battleship! So, apparently Rare has been involved very heavily in the production of Killer Instinct, and God, I hope it's true. But interestingly as well, that will be free to play. You'll be able to download that freely. You'll only be able to use Jargo, I think. But you'll then be able to download sort of a la carte the characters you want, which could work quite well if they don't screw up the pricing. I think freemium's really exciting. It's great to see Microsoft sort of pushing that free-to-play aspect. And, you know, so long as they don't totally mess up the cost, and especially if they give us the opportunity to buy multiple characters at discounts, or even just plonk down like 30 quid for everything.
Well,
yeah,
that could be a great idea.
I imagine they'll be keeping a beady eye on Tekken Revolution, which is out today, and we'll be checking out in the near future. Big name, free to play, because they brought out the essentially the card game on iOS and PC, which was a massive hit, millions and millions of downloads, and then evidently Namco thought, well, why don't we just make the fighter free to play as well. And for that one, actually, interestingly, you actually start off with 8 characters, so it's already kind of better. But we'll be keeping an eye on that as well, and like we'll be bringing you a verdict on how that's turned out. But yeah, it's an interesting premise, and I like that Microsoft they brought along a few free-to-play entities to say, yeah, we're looking at different pricing models. Sorry, Carl, I think I cut you off there.
I was going to say, at least we've got other things to get excited about, like I don't know, Rise.
Rise. Now,
John loves Rise.
He does. Loves
John
it.
loves Rise.
I don't
so
love
much.
Rise, but I did like the idea of it being a sort of hardcore Kinect game, something to get
absolutely,
dedicated gamers excited about the platform. But what it's turned into is an incredibly drab, by the looks of it, God of War sort of rip-off with mechanics lifted straight out of Arkham Asylum and quick time events up the arse.
Yeah.
For a gameplay reveal, I have rarely seen so many QuickTime events so ridiculously sort of telegraphed as well, with those immersion breaking buttons appearing on the screen every 5 seconds. Like
Classic
that was
ring timing.
and I must say, and that brings me to one of my major beefs with the Microsoft press conference, because while they did give us a lot of games, I really thought they failed to deliver flagship games, system sellers, big, fat, juicy games beyond Forza, which, is a driving game and is, the second game you buy for your next-gen console to show off the graphics to your friends. Like, that's what you do with racing games on a next-gen system. They didn't bring along enough of their big hitters. Yeah, Titanfall looks fantastic, but it's also coming out on PC, and that's what I'll be buying it on.
And 360.
And 360, but it's being developed by another studio, and I don't know how that's going to turn out. That game isn't a platform exclusive. So otherwise, we didn't get a Halo. We got a very, very crap reveal for Halo 5, Halo 6, Halo. Next-gen Halo.
Next-gen Halo. There's
which
Halo?
had a really awesome mech in it, and Master Chief wore a Darth cloak, and that was all we got. So we have the promise of Halo, and as I've said to you guys, I mean, Halo 4 actually rounded off Master Chief's storyline pretty comprehensively. Like, I'm not feeling the urge I did with Halo 3 or Halo 2 to continue that fight, to finish that fight. I feel like for me, it's going to have to really work hard to do something extraordinary to sell me the console this time.
It might be, and this is a far-fetched idea, Halo free to play?
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Where did you get that from?
No, I'm just spitballing. But would that be something that would potentially be?
They could potentially do something like what Sony did with Killzone 3 and what else? Uncharted 3, and maybe release a sort of free-to-play or freemium multiplayer suite. Perhaps they could do that.
Because that's the thing that keeps people locked in.
But I don't think they'll do that for Halo. I think that's one of their big budget, big fat franchises. We may see a spin-off. We've already seen one Halo spin-off that they, Spartan Assault. For Windows 8 devices and PC, and bizarrely not XBLA. So it's possible that there'll be a spin-off there, but no, I mean, and to be honest, we don't even know what it is. It's the promise of Halo. We know that whatever it is will run at 60 frames per second, which is great. But otherwise, that wasn't a reveal. That was just saying that there are going to be Halo games on the platform. We didn't get any Fable. We didn't get any Crackdown. Rise was too boring and frankly looked awful to be considered. It looked
so clunky to control as well.
Oh, it did, didn't
really clunky.
It did. We didn't get. Killer Instinct is good, but it's a niche game. It's a fighting game, and it's developed by Double Helix. So I don't think that could ever be considered a system seller. We needed a big marquee title, and we needed Black Tusk, I feel, for that. Like, we don't know anything about Black Tusk, but Microsoft's been hyping them up so much, and they're one of their few first-party studios, that they needed to step up to the plate and say, this is something really big, really great coming to Xbox One. And they didn't do that. Instead, all we've really got is Dead Rising 3. which I'm going to be honest with you, I was impressed by the number of zombies it was able to simultaneously render, but otherwise it looks so brown.
It did look like it was just all the personalities seemed to have been taken out from Dead Rising 1 and 2.
Yeah, for sure. Those big, colourful, zany games. Now we've got brown streets, gritty brownness. And I mean, even the weapons. I mean, he wasn't having any like super crazy fun with the weapons. You weren't like putting like ridiculous costumes on zombies or dressing up in a like wedding gown and riding a tiny little unicycle around. Like, there was none of that. There was just, I made a chainsaw. Okay, that's great. So, you know, that didn't wow me at all. And I feel that, yeah, it was all about the games, but there was a lot of filler in there. And for me, there wasn't quite enough killer until right at the end with Titanfall. And for the record, that game really does look good. Really, really, really good.
I agree.
I really want it. And I'm interested to see, because they've said it's a multiplayer only game. But they're going to do a Brink and actually they're going to make it feel like single player. There are going to be objectives. There are going to be characters in the multiplayer death matches, and really give it some context and ground you in the universe. I think that's really exciting.
If they can pull it off, absolutely. Which they probably will, because it's the guys who made COD. So yeah, I will be keeping a very close eye on that one.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, the lack of sort of marquee titles, Titanfall aside. It fed into the post-presser chat, because the post-presser chat was filled with one thing and one thing only, really, which was that price point.
Yeah, I must be honest. There was an amazing sort of moment of truth in that press conference, wasn't there? The E3 is just full of hype and lies, but if you want to see just one of the most amazing unedited moments ever. The reaction to that price point announcement was stunning. Like, the presenters and most of the screens and the console practically got sucked off the stage by the sharp intake of air from everyone in the crowd.
Yep.
Like, there was no clapping for like 4 set. People just went, oh, ooh, yay. And these are people who'll cheer for anything.
Yeah.
So, these are the people who uproariously cheered when Microsoft said, we're getting rid of Microsoft points. Yay! Yay! That's worth applauding for. We're fucking idiots. Even they didn't applaud for that price point. And you know what? It's high. And that is, what do you guys make of it?
Well, I mean, it is high. But at the same time, I mean, I know people who have said, actually, it's kind of fine. And when you look at it, it's not necessarily that much of a huge jump from the Wii U at the moment when you're looking at the premium.
Just based on RRP.
Oh, just on RRP only, yes. So, I mean, it is pricey, but it's not like humongously pricey. But yeah, I personally wouldn't be getting one of that price personally. If I looking at it, first thought was, yeah, that might be a bit too much.
And the problem is, it has to be a premium high price product, because Kinect is so integral to the experience.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this later, but there's no way they could make Kinect an optional extra, because it underpins the whole thing. It's how you turn the console on. It's how you interact with the television and entertainment services that won't be on the UK version at launch. It's how you pause a game. It's how you get back to the dashboard. It's how you multitask. And I think it's amazingly cool. I think it's easy to say, oh, Kinect is spying on you all the time. Well, I'm not sure I actually care, because the stuff you can do on that, I love the idea of being able to tell my Xbox what to do. To come in, to go switch on my console after a long day by saying Xbox on, Xbox, show me an episode of Archer or something, and it'll do it. So that's really cool, but that price is kind of cements the fact that Microsoft are gunning for a very, very affluent mainstream market here. And you're going to have a lot of money to keep up with this system, especially if a lot of publishers go down the "we won't let you trade it in" route.
Yes, I think
buy
that's
pre-owned route. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to be made of money.
I think, I mean, Sony are pretty much maintaining the status quo as it is right now. That sort of interesting new mandatory online check and the pre-owned system that somehow still isn't completely clear, because I'm pretty sure it's going to change as well in the next few months. Actually, that's a pretty good point. Most of Microsoft's policies are going to change in the next few months. Every single time Xbox Wire released another post, right at the bottom there was, "This is all liable to change." And you'll bet that they were watching that Sony presser like a hawk. But it was an interesting press conference, because they did what we wanted. They focused on games and were honest about services, and then tried to sell people on titles. And Phil Spencer's already come out and said it's not a sprint. This whole thing, and he's right. It's going to be interesting to see what they show at Gamescom, what they show at TGS. He mentioned TGS, which is,
that's ambitious.
God, Microsoft, like, looking at Japan, they need to, because ceding ground to Sony and Nintendo, they can't afford to anymore. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this develops. But as Carl, as you said, I'm not going to be picking it up on day one.
No, not yet. Anyway, this could all change. We could all see some more fantastic games, but I think we need to see more killer system sellers before considering plonking down that sort of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kinect Sports Rivals is not a system seller for me.
No, it's another tech demo. Seriously, expect a few tech demos before we really get up to speed on the Kinect front. But there will at least be Crimson Dragon finally. And something amazing from Cappy Games, who got the only indie loving in the entire show. So, they're making a roguelike. That's going to be awesome.
Let's move on to EA. Really quick.
Okay. We won't need long.
He's through this.
Yep, they were as... Yeah, they were as solid and stolid as ever, basically. They rocked up and said, right, okay, so we're making these sports games. Look at all these sports games waving their big virtual jock straps in your face and broing out. Ooh, look, this is all happening. Oh, UFC, yeah, Madden, oh, yeah, boy, woo! They then said, look, here's another look at Titanfall. It looks great. Here's some Battlefield. Here's some Mirror's Edge right at the end. Look, you wanted this. This is happening. How cool is that? And then they revealed the Battlefield 4 multiplayer for the first time, and I wet myself. Because you know what? We have been suffering through those god-awful single-player trailers. Like that 17-minute long pile of bullshit they gave us a while back, with just all the overblown, po-faced nonsense that should have been stripped out of the game entirely or replaced with a Bad Company campaign. Frankly, all of that apologist COD copying twattery that we had to put up with in Battlefield 3.
They've owned up to
that.
But
we don't care. They have owned up for that, yet they're still doing it. But we don't care really about that. It's the multiplayer we've always cared about in Battlefield, and Battlefield 4. Oh my God. We saw jet skis, boats, aerial combat, hopping in and out of tank convoys, bringing the rain in helicopters, fighter jets, ragging it across the surface of the ocean, assaulting skyscrapers, and then bringing them down, base jumping off the top over helicopters, parachuting down. 64-player multiplayer. No, they haven't increased the player cap, but I don't feel they need to. I think any more than 64 players and it can start to get really messy. Just take a look at MAG. I think you lose the sort of intimate multiplayer feel if you have too many players, unless it's specifically designed to be a great big open world ridiculous thing like PlanetSide. I need it in my life. I need to play that game, and it's coming soon on PC.
Yeah, I thought EA's presser was fine. I mean, you know what you're gonna. You always know what you're gonna get with EA. They didn't give us any surprises, but it wasn't bad. And to defend EA Sports for a second, EA Sports is massive and people love it, and I went batshit crazy for all of it.
Yes, you did. It was embarrassing.
And they started off in a great way. Like Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare looks great.
Oh my god, I want that.
It
looks fun, doesn't it?
It looks like Orcs Must Die meets Plants vs Zombies, which is fine.
Yeah,
it's more than fine.
It's more than fine.
It's more than fine. But no, actually, no. I'm going to put this in context. That was fine. What was more than fine was Peggle 2. Oh my god, the gaming crack is back, and I want it.
Yeah, they might as well have just stopped E3 right there. They might as well have just cancelled it, frankly, because Peggle 2. You know, even though I absolutely love the Battlefield 4 multiplayer reveal, damn, Peggle 2. Even the amazing jump, even his.
That made it.
Awesome
that
jump.
Clearly made it and wasn't embarrassing whatsoever.
So, you know, I mean, EA admittedly did totally embarrass themselves with loads of pointless celebrities coming on every few seconds, and then did also manage to, you know, I think we all burst out laughing when they said NBA Live is back, and we were all like, yeah. Good luck with that.
And then spent 5 minutes talking about balls.
Yeah, about balls, and then you know, later in the day, 2K came out and said, "So yeah, we're going to crush you.
We've got LeBron James.
We're going to crush you again." So yeah, that's a shame. But EA solid, predictable, good.
I think one last thing we didn't mention: Dragon Age 3 looking very nice. I know it's CGI, but it did looking very good.
Well, no, that trailer was rendered in engine. Apparently.
Oh right, okay, so I take that back. Looking very good then.
But it was a cutscene.
Yes,
and you know, in engine that was cool.
We're getting back Morrigan. We're getting back Varric, and yeah, there we go.
Yep,
it'll be interesting.
Gameplay, please.
Yes, lots of gameplay. We
gameplay
need
or GTFO.
We need a big showing at Gamescom for that. We need to see that open world and ensure there aren't any fucking cookie cutter bits in it. And it'll be interesting to see BioWare without the Doctors. Doing a big game, a big old game, a big old RPG for which they are well renowned without the Doctors. And how they respond to the perfectly justifiable Dragon Age 2 criticisms. Which I can't wait to see. So,
yeah, that was EA. I feel
that was EA.
That was EA.
Ubisoft.
Now, Ubisoft rode in to everyone's presser last year, saved the day for everyone last year. And I don't know about you guys, but I found their presser this year was a little flat, and like we praised them massively last year for essentially just bringing us gameplay, which they didn't do as much of this year. There was a lot of CG crap.
No, it was very erratic, very uneven, and the problem is, they always do this. They saved a lot of some of their best stuff for the Sony conference later on, leaving their own conference kind of toothless this time. There were a couple of cool things in it. I mean, first of all, Rayman Legends, we're buying it. We know that.
Yeah.
That's fine. Probably on Vita. But then they revealed the crew.
Yes.
And I don't know what the hell is that.
I was so confused. And initially I was
confused, but unbelievably aroused by what I saw. I was confusingly aroused by that, because they said, okay, it's a racing game. It's a 4-player cooperative open world MMO racing game that takes you all across America in enormous open cities and countryside where you're committing crimes against other players and the AI, and you're teaming up, and there's loads of customization. It looks like seriously, it looks like
my head hurts.
It looks a bit like sort of Burnout Paradise and Driver and freaking Payday and Need for Speed have just fallen into this ridiculous blender and is coming to next gen.
Yeah.
Like, I can't quite get a handle on what it is yet, but this could be amazing. I really feel like this. I think first of all, the rumors about this have been going around for months, but I think they did a great job of keeping a lid on the scale of this, and they've also they're still doing a great job in not quite telling us what it is. But I thought that was amazingly exciting. The idea of this open world driving game that's persistent, even if you're in single player. You're always connected, but you don't have to be. But you're always playing in multiplayer or not. I'm going to stop blithering about it now because, frankly, we need to see more details about that. We need to get hands-on with it. And, Carl, you've been saying we need to see actually how much of the game there is, how much of America has actually been rendered.
Yeah.
We got Ubisoft Reflections coming out to bat on this one. They're always excellent at what they do. So I was absolutely blown away by that.
One thing about the Ubisoft press conference, I really wish they'd shown more South Park, because it's out pretty soon.
Nagasaki, that's all we needed. That's all we needed.
A bit of a fart position. But I would have liked to have seen a little more of that game.
Tell you what I wasn't impressed by. The Rabbids thing.
I like the idea of it. I just feel like, I like the idea of interactive television, but on the other hand, what they showed us was a pretty crushingly unfunny TV show that stops every few seconds until you do something.
I looked at that and I just thought it's not actually for me. It's clearly not for me. It's clearly for kids. They've partnered up with Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Like, they've done the same thing that Microsoft have done with Kinect and Sesame Street, which works. Kids fucking love that stuff. They really do. And I reckon it's going to do quite well. I think, that I can recognise that's not for me, and that's okay. Although having that in a press conference, I mean, I'm not sure what demographic for that is watching.
Yeah, I can't help but feel that time would have been better spent getting some guys out to show us some freaking Rainbow Six Patriots, which again was very obviously missing in action.
Yep.
I have a bad feeling about that game. I don't know about you, but I'm wondering if perhaps they've... Well, to be honest, by the looks of the sort of the Target stuff they put out, and the Target gameplay concepts they put out, I'm hoping they realised that actually making a super story-centric Rainbow Six that focuses on the characters and emotions and stuff isn't actually what we want from one of the few remaining tactical franchises out there. That's certainly not what many of us wanted from Ghost Recon. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get a new Rainbow Six, because God knows Rainbow Six Vegas brought it to the start of last generation. When the Xbox 360 came out, Rainbow Six Vegas just killed it. Like, Rainbow Six Vegas came out and said, look at this unbelievably, at the time, graphically gorgeous game with a revolutionary cover system. At the time, that cover system was unbelievable. Like, it made Gears of War, which came out at the exact same time on the exact same engine, look primitive in comparison. So, here's hoping for something on that. But they did reveal something else as well. They revealed another Tom Clancy game that actually looks really interesting.
That really piqued my interest when I saw The Division. It was a very slow build-up to actually reading what it was, but the fact that it looks like a cross between, what did I put? Kind of like it was a cross between Watch Dogs and The Last of Us in what we saw, like getting supplies and having this open world and being able to interact with things and using technology. It does look very interesting. I'm intrigued as to how PvP is going to work, because it looked like they came across another group of players later on, and whether there's going to be factions and everything else. But in terms of it being a persistent online game, I'm very interested to see how it all pans out.
For sure. It's been billed as an action RPG. Like, that is, it's got shooting mechanics, but it is a full-on next-gen action RPG for next-gen consoles. I don't think PC's actually been announced. I might be wrong. They might have broke cover with that, but the initial website certainly didn't suggest anything about it. So this is going to be running on consoles, giving us some sort of interesting futuristic take on an online shooter RPG, but with a lot more in terms of tactical planning, perhaps, than we've seen from the genre before. But with all the buffs and cooldowns that we could want, by the looks of it. Lots of buffs, lots of talks about buffs in that super spontaneous demo they gave us that was totally unscripted.
I mean, one of the things that we haven't actually brought up that was in a lot of the presses was the inclusion of using tablet controllers to interact with other games. I mean, they showed that in The Division, they showed that in The Crew. Obviously, there's going to be Smart Glass with the Xbox, but I like the way that it worked with the Division. Calling in and like helping to spot enemies and things like that. So
Ubisoft are going big on that actual synchronous tablet gameplay rather than asynchronous stuff. There's going to be something similar for Watch Dogs as well, I've been told. So
yes,
there's a lot to look out for on that front. But yeah, otherwise, it was. The thing is, we already know that some cracking games are coming. Like Watch Dogs blew everything out of the water last year at E3. That's still looking great. I checked that out in Paris. They just came out and said, look, we've got these games, they're coming, you want them. They probably should have showed more footage of Splinter Cell Blacklist, mind.
Yes.
I don't know what the hell that was. It was the most schizophrenic, kind of bizarre. They didn't show any gameplay.
They've done it. That's what they've kept doing. They've been awful at actually selling Splinter Cell Blacklist on its stealth and its wide open missions. Because I've seen it running. I've had developers. I've sat there at a dev console with a production build right next. Just me and two guys from the dev team showing me it. It's all about choosing your own engagements, choosing whether or not you want to use stealth, tactics, situational awareness, non-lethal abilities in every level all the time. Doing your mission your way, and their publicity department are fucking idiots. Well, not their publicity, sorry, their marketing department are fucking idiots. So they're having real trouble explaining that, and I think that could really hurt Blacklist. And we've been saying this for months. So hopefully, the game itself is going to be great, live up to its potential of being the biggest Splinter Cell ever, and we're going to be able to relay that to you. Please wait.
So yes, that was Ubisoft.
Yep.
And then Sony happened with a gigantic, fairly bloated show, as always.
Started off pretty slow, I thought.
It did start off quite slow.
Well, basically,
but it was necessary, I feel.
Stepped on the stage, someone had come up with a nice guy Jack.
Well, the thing is, though, all Sony did, really, was show up. Like, that's basically all they did. They turned up, and that's basically all they did. And then they won E3.
Well,
turning up.
Well, it was good. I mean, we saw the PS3 stuff that is yet to come, and the Vita stuff that's coming very soon. I mean, Beyond Two Souls looks a lot more action-packed than I thought it was going to be, more action-driven, and that intrigued me because we already know it's going to have a very deep story.
Trailer, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I'm very interested. I was already interested in it anyway because Quantic Dream are a really good developer, I think. But I'm now more interested to see what the hell they're doing. And we got to see them talk about what else? Television. They did a bit on television with their things, kind of like going, yes, we also do television, but they didn't dwell on it too much.
No, they took 5 minutes just saying. I feel like it could have even been shorter. They should have just put up a slide of TV providers and pointed at it for 10 seconds. But they spent 5 minutes saying, okay, you can install Netflix, so you can watch TV on it. Next.
We also make TV shows and films, which, we'll also put up because that's our business. So yeah, you want it, it's there. And that's what they did. It had to be done because they didn't do it at the PS4 reveal. And as far as I'm concerned, that was absolutely fine.
For sure. And then, it was interesting. We're going to get to the Megaton stuff later on because I know we're dancing around this. I don't know about you, but I'm desperately dancing around this.
Yeah.
But they one of the things about one of the interesting things about this, and one of the things I called was that apart from the last sort of 20 minutes, it was a lot more about consolidation than the Megaton reveals, because they've already told us to expect incredibly beautiful new Killzone, a new Infamous, Drive Club, Knack. They actually bothered to reveal those ahead of time. So we got a little recap for those, which means that they lost a lot of impact to this event. It was easy to forget that they actually showed us those.
Yeah.
But they're coming, and you know what? In terms of launch lineup, yeah, I know, Matt. I know you don't really care that much about Killzone and Infamous, and to be honest, I like both those franchises a lot. But you can be guaranteed of quality there. And as launch titles, those are big, fat, marquee franchises right there.
Absolutely.
So that's good. That's the sort of thing, like one of those games, probably Killzone, is going to be a dead cert as a launch title, or one of the games you buy with your PS4. Thing is, it was still quite slow by that stage. They were kind of crawling through it. Time was almost slowing down to a standstill. And then they showed us something called The Order 1866.
Yes.
1886, which was it was in engine apparently, but basically a cutscene. And I like the idea. As someone who is a huge fan of Haytham Kenway, I love the idea of having a party of Haytham Kenways shooting werewolves in steampunk London with impossible weapons. I like the idea of that immensely. And especially since it's being handled by a couple of, very decent skilled studios as well. So that for me was when it started to pick up. And then they started showing us the indie stuff, and for me that was when Sony started winning E3, because they didn't bring along a huge number of exclusives. They showed us a lot of things like Watch Dogs and a bit more of Assassin's Creed and Destiny, which I'm sure we'll get to in a bit. But they made all the right noises. What they did was they set themselves up as a console for gamers that encourages this big, varied, vibrant, developer and gamer-friendly ecosystem. And the indies, for me, is what really made that. Because whereas Microsoft came out and just said, look, we've got one game from Capybara coming. Sony said, look, Supergiant, Transistor. Transistor is probably my most anticipated game for 2014 at the moment, being that it's from the guys who made Bastion and has a soundtrack that I have not been able to get out of my head for months and looked utterly beautiful. That is going to be console exclusive to the PS4, though I'll be buying it on PC, obviously. That's fantastic. They then showed us this great big vertical slice from people who've worked with Microsoft before. The guys from Skulls of the Shogun, who developed Skulls of the Shogun for Windows 8, are working on a PS4 exclusive. Octodad are basically a bunch of students who've been working on the really awesome PC series. Just got given a dev kit. Sony just gave them a dev kit and said, make games for us, guys. So they did. We've got a fantastic game. We've got Galaxy. That looks absolutely fantastic. We've got just an amazing looking Western. We've got, they showed us a bit more of Oddworld, New and Tasty, although that is not a console exclusive. That'll even be on the Wii U.
Also got Don't Starve as well, which is quite fun little game.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And they just kept impressing on us that they are going out and getting this diverse range, this great big range of games, from little boutique games to free-to-play games. I felt they missed the trick by not showing us PlanetSide 2, because they really should have shown.
Absolutely.
They had an opportunity to show all the Dude Bros PlanetSide 2, and they would have immediately gone and started playing it on PC, or bought it on, or got it on the PS4. So that was a big mistake, and we could have really started recruiting for the TR here.
Absolutely.
So they kind of missed a trick there. But the indie stuff for me made me feel like Sony were making an effort and making a sort of making all the right noises, saying we are here for you gamers. We are here to give you this great big diverse range of genres, titles, business models, and working aggressively to keep developers on this platform. And for me, I was impressed by that. I'm starting to gush now, but for me, that was when Sony really started bringing it.
I think it's hard to say. Argue against that really, because you're right. It was a nice surprise, the fact that they kept on bringing more indie developers on stage. I was like, whoa, okay, this is pretty cool. And yeah, you're right. That was really when it started to pick up some very, very serious pace to some very, very big announcements, pretty much.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, so I mean, we had all that indie loving, and then after all of that, we got to something that we haven't really seen a lot of, and I've actually complained about this. Destiny. We hadn't seen anything of it really running up to it, apart from a few fancy trailers and behind the scene dev things about how wonderful Bungie are. And then we finally got to see it in action. And I'll tell you what, it really impressed me. I thought it looked really good, and the fact it kind of looks like a mix of Halo and Borderlands, with the whole having the whole sort of like public event things that you might see in something like Guild Wars 2 being involved, it really did impress me a lot.
Yeah, it looked really promising. I must admit, the whole time I was thinking, yeah, I do have Borderlands already. Seriously, yeah. I do actually own that, and Borderlands 2. But at the end, well, they showed us a lot of the cool ways that you can get players into your game and start cooperating. That looks great. The weapons look fun. There are some awesome looking bosses. And then at the end, they showed us a public event.
Yeah.
Which for me was where they really brought it. As a fan of Guild Wars 2, I love the idea of running into these big dynamic events happening around the world and enjoying some big scale PvE with other players. Yeah, that sounds like fantastic fun.
I do hope that it is scalable, though. Much like they do in Guild Wars 2, so like more players come along, either the enemies get tougher or more get spawned and things like that. I mean, they probably have thought about this sort of thing, but we still need to learn a lot more about the game just yet. But as first impressions go, I was very impressed.
For sure. Sony also said that there would be a special relationship with Activision, which means precisely bugger all.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's as multi-platform as it gets, and it may mean that there'll be some more exclusive DLC, or probably that Activision will actually put some work into optimizing it properly, which is not something they've ever done with PS3 games. No. So, hopefully that means they're actually going to get some QA involved with the PS4 versions this time. I assume that's what that means. Square Enix turned up, of course.
Oh, yes.
To deliver two total PS4 exclusives that are absolutely not PS4 exclusives. No. But they did reveal Final Fantasy Versus 13! Finally! I'm not sure I know anyone who's hugely excited about that anymore.
Well, yeah, I used to be.
Hugely excited. Yeah, I was excited about that ages ago.
But yeah, now it's not Final Fantasy Versus 13. It's now officially Final Fantasy 15, which was what people were calling for quite some time.
Yes.
So I mean, it looks like, as you guys put it, Final Fantasy May Cry, and it looks as gorgeous as it ever has been. I thought, yeah, very nice. Still need to see more of it though. I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
It's our looks at it thus far have been quite confusing, because people looked at it and went, well, that's gorgeous. What? Real-time teleporting combat with... Oh, fuck. Okay, yep. No. My brain's collapsing on itself. What is this? I don't understand it at all. Yeah, because it's a game that's been in development for so long, so hidden, and now I genuinely don't know what to think. It completely... It floored me. It completely floored me, its appearance, because it looks fantastic, and I'm actually really quite up for some Final Fantasy May Cry. If it involves me in the game more than Final Fantasy 13 did, I'm all for that, because Final Fantasy 13, just no. They managed to fix it with 13 Part 2 to a certain extent, but
yeah, they had to turn one game into an entire trilogy to actually rectify their mistakes there.
Yeah, it's not... If this sort of real-time combat system means we're more involved in that combat, and if it still manages to be slightly tactical and strategic, that would be great. Yes, please, Square. But But if it involves me more than pressing up and A, I'm fine with it.
Or thing is though, I mean, pressing up and A is fine so long as we can also press down and select and have an awesome turn-based battle system where we can select through loads of options that we've spent ages and skills and stuff that we've spent ages amassing, and then deliver the Knights of the Round. That's fine. I don't mind pressing up and A when I'm leafing through loads of cool menus.
Well, yeah, but wait, what? No, that's all Final Fantasy 13 was. Pressing up an A.
No, I'm talking about, but that was just up and A because you only ever had to use that one attack, and that was pretty much all you ever had to do. I'm talking about like Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, but that's not just pressing up an A. You're doing lots of other stuff.
Yeah, you're pressing down an A. The action stops, and you press up an A. That's fine. I would like to see the extent of how real time that combat is, and how much control you have on a second by second basis.
Yeah,
there's
this
a little
is what I
menu
mean.
system at the bottom that looks like it could be in use, and there you can see sort of party data at the side.
It looks, well, obviously it's by the guy who did Kingdom Hearts, which I'm sure we'll get to onto in a moment. But it looks very similar to kind of like extended version of the system that we've seen in those games. But as I said before, I'm still waiting to see a bit more information about how this all works, what sort of RPG elements are in there. And customization, things like that. But yep, it's alive, it's well, it's been rebranded, and it's coming, which I think is going to have made a few people quite happy.
For sure, and coming to PS4 and Xbox One.
Yes.
The other thing as well, of course, as you've just said, Kingdom Hearts 3, subtitled "It's About Fucking Time."
Yep.
We've had all of the retcons and prequels and spin-offs and tie-ins that we could ever, even on mobiles, like we've had all the tie-ins ever. So it's about time we actually got that sequel, and now we're getting it.
Yeah.
And that tiny little bit of gameplay they showed us looked all right. There are great big tidal waves of Heartless coming at you.
So yeah, that's definitely coming. Again, we still need to see a bit more, but that is also going to be multi-platform now. So more people to play and get confused with the story.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And that was kind of the story of both. I mean, like you touched on it earlier. There were so many sort of multi-platform big hitters on either the Microsoft stage or the Sony stage. We all had to research after to go, wait, is this an exclusive? Isn't it an exclusive? Wordings in both conferences were so tight and specific because so much stuff has gone multi-platform, and it looks like there's just going to be not a huge amount to separate the PS4 from the Xbox One in terms of, well, judging by this E3, judging by games, which is why Sony then, at the end of their presser, got aggressively pro-consumer. Emphasis on the aggressive, because Andrew House started just like, vain, there was a vein in his temple, he was angry at something. He was just laying the smackdown with some applause-worthy, and it received a whole bunch of applause. Pro-consumer stuff that said no DRM, no registration requirement, none of this game licensing stuff. Games are yours. And then there was that hilarious little video that was completely unplanned, so they say, from Sony instructing this is how you share a PS4 game with your mates. Just hand it to them.
Yeah, I mean, that got a huge cheer, and to be fair, rightly so. But on top of that, I mean, the thing that came before it was the price.
Yeah.
And at $349, that is, look, it kind of put everything in perspective and was like, well, there you have it. I mean, they did admit later on that you do not get a PlayStation Eye with the PlayStation 4. You have to buy that extra, but that's an extra 50 quid, which is still cheaper to a point. But that price was very, very attractive. They did, however, kind of like blindside as well. Not even blindside, I don't think that's the right word, but they did try to sneak past the whole thing about PlayStation Plus, though.
Yes, blindside is absolutely the right word, because what they did was they aggressively attacked Microsoft's Xbox One policies in an attempt to hide the fact that PlayStation Plus is now a requirement for playing games online. That is, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought that was quite a low blow, actually. I did not like the way they did that, and I think a lot of, the PS4 superfans won't care, and the SDF won't care, but I think a lot of people are going to feel just a little bit left down, a little bit disappointed, a little bit angry about that, because they had the opportunity to be upfront while they were talking about PlayStation Plus and say, look, this is going to require, this is going to be a requirement for playing online, but look at these cool features you'll get as well.
Yes.
And these free games you will get as well.
That was the main thing. I mean, the fact that for me, it's, yes, I've already got PlayStation Plus, so in a way it's not really going to change much, but the fact that it goes across 3 systems, it's for my PS3, it'll be for the PS4 that, is eventually in my possession, and the Vita. It goes across all those systems, so one payment and it covers it all. And I think it might be also important to remember that the online, the subscription part of it to online multiplayer only applies to the PS4 and not to the other 2. But yeah, I was a little disappointed by the fact that they announced that, but at the same time, it's not really going to affect much with me because I've already got it. I already think it's great value, and I'll still continue to get really good PS3 games as a result of having it.
For sure. My one worry is that because actually the American Instant Game Collection has actually been pretty rubbish. The European Instant Game Collection has been great.
Yeah.
But the only reason for that is because it's optional. It is an optional extra. Yes. It is a subscription. The games have to be great to convince people to part with their money. When it's a requirement, there won't be any pressure on Sony to keep up that level of excellence from the Instant Game Collection.
Yeah. It'll be harder initially for the PS4 as well because the library won't be there as well.
Exactly. But at least that's where they can get, this big stable of indie developers queuing up to develop for them to, get on board and show them some loving. It's great. They get publicity. Sony gets free instant games to the Instant Game Collection. Everybody wins. So yeah, that's not a huge deal, but I really didn't like the way they tried to hide that. I do think that was a low blow, frankly. Yes. I think that was kind of despicable, actually. Even though the thing itself isn't necessarily that bad. I've got no problem with it, but the way they presented that sucked.
Yes.
But yes, overall, I mean, the end of that press conference it was just emphatic. It was the Temple of Sony were on their feet cheering, as were we, actually. You're getting one hell of a machine for that money. 349. I mean, compare those specs and those 8 gigs of DDR5 RAM. Compare that to a comparable spec PC, and look at the gulf in price there. It is
very impressive.
That is very impressive. Damn, that's very, very cool. And afterwards, I think we all agreed that for whatever this means, whatever this actually stands for, in terms of the press conferences, Sony probably won E3.
Yeah,
they crushed E3. Let's make no bones about it. They crushed it.
Absolutely. I think the one thing that kind of impressed me was the level of choice that they were pretty much giving to everyone with the console. There's going to be multiple versions of the PS4 to bundles. You're going to be, they did confirm you will be able to swap out the hard drive in there again, like the PS3. The fact that you have the choice with the used games, and how you want to use them, they're your property, do whatever. And although they've said, if you've got to subscribe to play multiplayer, you don't have to necessarily enjoy playing the games. So there was choice. I mean, you look at Xbox, it's their way or the highway. Sony are at least, it's questionable with online, but for the most part, they are giving you a choice. And that's what the consumer wants. They want to have that choice there. At least that's what I feel, in my opinion, anyway.
Absolutely. They made a really concerted effort to bring it for the core, and that's a good thing at E3 because that's who's watching. You've got your import fans who are going to be able to play games on the PS4 because it's region free and unrestricted in that way. That's fantastic. As you said, you can swap out the hard drive and expand it because hard drives fill up massively quickly these days, and if you're going to be streaming stuff and downloading stuff and putting a whole bunch of games onto your hard drive and a whole bunch of films and music and everything like that, half a terabyte can fill up massively quickly these days. So that's incredibly welcome. And the fact is, yeah, you're right, options, we love options as gamers. We don't like being dictated to. We don't like being forced into corners and told to hashtag deal with it. Like, just look at the fury that simple 3-word phrase conjured up, and Sony tapped into that magnificently. And there'll be sort of quid pro quos that come out over the next few months, and there'll be refinements that happen. And I really, really hope that, and we've mentioned this on a couple of podcasts before, that they look at sort of tiering PlayStation Plus, and it'll be interesting to see how that sort of battle for quality, because of course Microsoft have announced that you'll get 2 free games a month as well with Xbox Gold now. It'd be interesting to see how that sort of competitive element leads to them giving good games, giving quality sort of newer games.
Yeah, that's what they need, newer games, because the 2 that they did announce for the first month, I'm pretty sure pretty much every single Xbox owner has probably played one, if not both, or owned them.
But I think as much as exclusives might dictate it, those 2 subscription services, now that they're a lot more alike, will feature heavily potentially in gamers' decisions. And it's kind of up to us as media to sort of educate people about that, especially considering we're a deal site. So we'll be keeping a very, very beady eye on that. But yeah, we called it at the time, just let's go home. Sony have done it. And it was interesting. We said the next day, is there anything? Because we said this could be like Nintendo's to steal. Is there anything that Nintendo could do?
Oh, there was plenty they could have done.
It back.
There was plenty they could have done. But John, do you think that they?
Well, I was so. I felt so passionately about this that I ended up spending most of this morning just crunching out an article about it. But the TLDR version, there was an opportunity here for Nintendo to make the last. They only have like a few months now before the next gen turns up. They've had a year, and they've wasted it. They've frittered it away. Just frittered away months on not doing anything, on total inactivity. And they've finally had the chance to come out and say, look, we have a console that's already out. We are bringing you great games that you can't find anywhere else. This console is out right now. Don't worry about waiting for the next gen. Get on board and get on Miiverse. Enjoy these cool features and let's all have fantastic fun. And do you know what? They showed off some great stuff in that press conference.
Yeah.
Really fantastic stuff. Mario Kart 8 is probably one of the most amazing things I've seen at this E3, personally. It looks, in terms of fidelity, it looks absolutely fantastic. And also, you can drive on the freaking walls. And the gliding comes back, which is one of my favourite Mario Kart mechanics.
Yeah.
That looks absolutely insane. The new Super Smash Brothers. Oh, wow. That actually looks fantastic. And it's multi-platform on the 3DS, so we all know which version we're all going to be buying. There's no need to buy a Wii U now. There's some new characters for that as well, like Mega Man, and we've got even the Wii Fit Trainer, Animal Crossing Villager. That's really good fun, and we got our only look at Samus as well. So, if all you Metroid fans, at least you got to see Samus for approximately 1.5 seconds. So that was great. We got to have a look at X, which is the most, for my money, is at the moment the first truly next-gen RPG we've got to see in terms of gameplay as well as graphics. Like, based on Xenoblade Chronicles, we've got that seamless open world, but one that you can now soar over in enormous mechs. The battle system looks to be heavily based on Xenoblade Chronicles, which is one of the best JRPGs ever made. So, yeah, there's a lot to be thankful for there. And then Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 2 looks absolutely fucking brilliant. Like we always knew it would be, but damn, I mean, we're just seeing her taking it to the next level, fighting on top of an F-22 Raptor as it's flying through a city. Like, that looks absolutely brilliant. For the record, her new look is excellent, and stop bitching about it. But all of these games have something in common. They're coming out in 2014.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable. Because they're system sellers. I mean, Bayonetta is not a system seller, and X could be if they amp it enough. But the Wii U right now needs a system seller, and it is not getting it. Because it's getting a Mario game at Christmas. A Mario game that is basically a successor to the 3DS's flagship Mario game. Super Mario 3D World. The whole point of the Super Mario 3D Land title is that it uses stereoscopic 3D as a gameplay mechanism. The Wii U does not have stereoscopic 3D. All they're doing is say, yeah, so we got a new Mario game coming out. Its biggest selling point is that it's in 3D. That's not a selling point. Oh, well, it's got a cat suit. That looks kind of cool. But that's not a selling point for me, personally. I mean, a lot of people say that New Super Mario Bros. U is a cop-out, and in many ways it was. But it was also a fun new way of getting people onto the system with familiar mechanics and introducing them to cool new features like Miiverse and off-TV play and the gamepad-enabled boost mode. It needed to be the setup for a totally new Mario designed specifically for the system, one that's based around using the two screens. That is not what we're getting. And you know what? It's coming out in December, and we are going to have our hands full with things to buy in December. And then what else did we get?
Thing is, like, I think just to reflect on Mario, I can't help but wonder if Mario, as a sort of Mario traditionally was the sort of the evolutionary path through Nintendo's consoles. So you always had, I mean, you look at the jump to Mario 64. That was fantastic. You look at like something like Super Mario Galaxy as well. That was mind-bendingly awesome.
Oh yeah.
But I can't help but wonder, like we all asked actually after Super Mario Galaxy, where the fuck can Mario go now? And I'm not convinced there is anywhere for him to go. And the thing is, Nintendo really ought to have realised this, and they just didn't. They didn't look towards sort of reviving anything that could be sort of boundary pushing for this next gen console. If they want people to think of their console as a next gen console, they need to be pushing the boundaries in terms of mechanics, and they just haven't.
Agreed. Like a cat suit is absolutely agreed. The cat suit is cool, but you know the Wii U is a platform that has two simultaneous screens. Like they could have one where there are two worlds existing simultaneously, a light and a dark world occupying the same place, and Mario could go swap between the main screen and the gamepad to influence things in both of these sort of different realities.
Something Sony have already done with Little Big Planet.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. But you know, Nintendo should probably have a crack at something like that. They've got this controller it has a screen built in, touch screen, motion control, all of that. They need to be using that. There's also like he could just go back through history in some genre defying triumphant journey through the evolution of Nintendo with loads of different gameplay styles and stuff, meeting loads of classic characters. We've done a whole podcast on this. That is not happening. We're getting a cat suit, and admittedly that does look really good, but that's pretty much all we got. Because what else are we doing? Retro Studios have been working on, of all the things they could have been working on, a new Metroid Prime game, a new franchise, a new IP. Instead we have another Donkey Kong Country game. This time with the dumbest subtitle I've ever seen. Tropical Freeze. What? Sorry. Look, a 2.5D platformer is not what the Wii U needs right now. Yeah. We have some of those right now. And the Donkey Kong Country 3D came out on the 3DS a while back. Like, we've got enough Donkey Kong, and it's not enough to say, oh, look, here's another 2.5D platformer. We've got revolutionary new features like the camera turns around a bit. And revolutionary new features like, oh, look, Dixie Kong's back and is a very cheap imitation of Rayman, who is coming out and is going to ruin you.
Yeah, I mean, some of you may remember how utterly livid I got actually at Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii, because it was just another case of Nintendo going back to their 2D roots, which is fine, and it's not a bad game. They don't make bad games. And that's kind of the point. Like John, like you mentioned the other day, we were sort of having a shoot around on Halo and sort of getting our thoughts clear for this podcast. And one of the things that came up was Nintendo's like unerring need to make fundamentally good games. Now we like that, but it restricts them so much from exploring new brave ideas that you can just see with 2.5D Donkey Kong. They're not bad games, but they're not system sellers. They're not going to appeal to anyone who hasn't been a Nintendo fan for over a year.
And as we're seeing
very, very least.
Yeah, and as we're seeing on Miiverse, even the core, Miiverse is really in a really dark place right now. Like I spent a good hour on there the other day. People are just saying, where are the games, Nintendo? We already have this Donkey Kong Country Return games on the Wii. We have one on the 3DS. What we need right now is Metroid Prime. What we need right now is a new Star Fox. What we need right now is brand new titles. What we need right now is a brand new Zelda that Miyamoto has said is definitely in production, but they didn't bring along to E3 because they were worried that people might get excited about it and pre-order it. What the fuck logic is that? But Matt, as you were saying, Nintendo are perfectionists. They know that if they release a bad core first-party game, that the fallout to their reputation would be profoundly bad for them. But the thing is, it takes ages for them to develop games and release games and critically to quality assure them, to make them shine.
But the thing is, they have a perfect benchmark in Sega, who have been releasing shit games for so many years in terms of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yep.
And yet, people will still blindly buy it. And do you know what, actually? Sonic Lost World looks fucking amazing. And it's exclusive to Wii U. But you never know that because Nintendo glossed over it in 3 seconds. 3 seconds!
Yeah,
oh,
Nintendo are like a deer in the headlights. They've wasted all these months because, Carl, as you pointed out, they may well be having trouble actually making high definition, high quality graphical experiences. They don't have much experience.
That's a theory. That's only a theory.
It's a good theory because all of the original lineup only outputted at 720p. So it's a good theory. I like it. Yeah, they've left us with this lineup until Christmas that basically involves the Wonderful 101, which cannot support a system by itself. It is a niche game. There is Pikmin 3, the definition of a niche game. I don't think anyone bought a GameCube to play Pikmin somehow. I don't think that was the driving force behind anyone. No one buys a console for that. We've got an HD version of the Wind Waker. Cracking, I'm buying that. But only because there's nothing else. A new Art Academy. Woo! Why aren't they just including that functionality in Miiverse rather than making us pay for it?
Because money.
But you'd get money by releasing a new Metroid Prime. It is. You could get more money by making freaking Metroid Prime. So.
Thing is the strategy. You look at the strategy. It's the same strategy that happened with the 3DS, but there's one key difference. I mean, with the 3DS, you had Ocarina of Time 3D. We're getting Wind Waker HD. That's that works out quite nicely. But sales did not jump hugely for Ocarina of Time 3D, and neither will they do so for Wind Waker HD. That's not going to happen. You can't have a 10-year-old game.
They're not system sellers. They're for people who already have it.
Yeah. Exactly. And we're getting new Mario and we're getting new Mario Kart, but the 3DS versions redefined those franchises for a portable market. Super Mario 3D Land was fantastic and managed to make a sort of almost 2.75.
Yeah, because it was designed for the system. It was designed to say, look, 3D isn't just a gimmick. Look, it actually affects the gameplay as well.
Like it was utterly fantastic. And Mario Kart 7 pushed the Mario Kart franchise into areas that actually phenomenal.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely phenomenal.
Amazing.
But Nintendo, instead of copying just, the sort of template for that, they just copied the whole thing!
Yeah, they copied the whole thing. Like, they're even copying Super Mario 3D Land. And it's gutting. And as I said in this article that I put up, they're in the unenviable situation of their system sellers coming out after the core and the niche titles. It doesn't work that way round. And to me, I'm sorry, but it is unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable, that both Super Smash Brothers and Mario Kart 8 are missing Christmas. That is the one time of year when all the family are around. The one time of year, realistic. Well, the Wii U should be selling like hotcakes now. These games should have come out last Christmas or be coming out now, when the other next-gen consoles aren't even out. But because they're taking so long to develop, and they started developing them way too late, they've been left up the proverbial creek right now. And I'm sorry, when these games do finally come out, the PS4 will be out and the foundations will be down. The Xbox One will be out. Titanfall, games like Titanfall and even things like Project Spark and stuff like that are going to be out. On the PS4, we're going to be getting stuck into Killzone and loads of indie games on that front. And sorry, we'll have spent our money. Like, yeah, I'm going to enjoy playing those games eventually, but Nintendo saw the onrushing next-gen consoles, and it was like they were a deer in the headlights. They stopped, they flinched, and critically, the annoying thing about this press conference, most of all, was that it was the best they could do. They did that. They made that is the best of a bad situation. They revealed everything, but they revealed it a year too late. And they're releasing it a year too late.
Yeah, I'll tell you what also kind of annoyed me. The fact that, I don't know whether you guys noticed, but they'd show a trailer which would have all the information we needed, and then Iwata repeated everything again.
Well, they needed to fill out half an hour.
Well, no, that's the thing. It ran for 40 minutes, but I'm almost certain there was only 20 minutes of information there.
Yep.
And that's what just absolutely disappointed me the most, I feel. It's what made me feel really, really sad. It was like, well, yeah, what are they doing? What the hell are they doing?
That was the thing, because actually, yeah, like it was just a feeling of real sadness, like watching an institution that has been a stalwart of my gaming life floundering so badly on the brightest, biggest stage.
Yeah, and it harks back to the fact that we even brought up in the Wii U review, it just wasn't ready. They just were not ready. Fundamentally, I mean, God knows they didn't bother doing anything throughout the last couple of years, the Wii's lifespan. They should have been taking that time pre-producing these games and getting them ready to launch within the first year.
I was amazed by that. I was amazed by that Shigsy interview as well, where Miyamoto basically said, look, where he answered a question on why Nintendo doesn't just become a software company. He said, no, we make the hardware so we make it easy for our design teams. To do what? Like, literally, to do what?
To make another Donkey Kong Country game, mate.
I can't even just begin to fathom what they've been doing. Like what they've actually been doing for the last 4 years. 4 years? Because, I mean, I'm counting back to Super Mario Galaxy 2.
They've been doing nothing. And the problem, I say that, what they've been doing, and I think the one take-home message from that presentation is Pokemon X and Y looks fucking great. And it's just another amazing title in what is basically an essential handheld right now.
Yeah, but
you mentioned that the 3DS had a rocky start, but you know what? It was running unopposed, and then Nintendo realized that the one thing that needed to be a success was releasing loads of brilliant games all the time, throughout the year, in the summer, in the spring, in the winter, delivering hit after hit, all manner of different genres, like mainstays like Animal Crossing. We've got Castlevania on there, Monster Hunter. We've got fucking Fire Emblem Awakening, which is still my game of the year, my personal shout for game of the year at the moment.
Also, crucial point, they released 2 amazing Mario games 2 months before the Vita came out. So when the Vita dropped, no one knew about it because we were all sat in the rainy winter in Britain, street passing with Mario Kart 7.
Yeah, and getting online with Mario. I love the online Mario Kart 7. It is just brilliant. And Mario Tennis, and just Luigi's Mansion 2. And it's just so great. Even the Ace Combat game on there is so damn good. So look, and there's so much more to look forward to on that front. We've got the that crazy Mario and Luigi kind of RPG, ridiculous mini game. It's all a dream thing. We've got a new Yoshi game. We've got
Project X Zone.
Project X Zone, that's coming very soon in the summer. Look, see. Summer games. We will buy games in the summer. I don't expect Project X Zone to chart very well, but damn, people are going to buy it. Like, the 3DS has a fantastic release slate. Games are still being announced. Games are still coming. We're getting all different genres. I mean, the Wii U doesn't even have an RPG yet. It doesn't have a single one. Does it? I don't think it does. The 3DS, I'm spoiled for choice on the 3DS for any, apart from first-person shooters, which frankly I don't actually need on a handheld, and I have a Vita if I ever feel the need to do that. Like, the 3DS is just kicking ass right now, but the Wii U, Nintendo, they're in serious danger of just completely fucking it, I'm afraid.
Just really sad.
Yeah.
It was like watching just a nightmare unfold. It was, and then just I had to sort of just go for a walk afterwards. I was just completely numbed by it. By just how much they missed the point. Yeah, but the thing is, I wasn't that sad though. I've been going out to bat for them a fair bit over the last few months. I've been coming down hard on them, ragging on them every damn week. But it's come from a good place, and I've always been there to suggest solutions, to give them constructive criticism. I don't have any constructive criticism for them right now, other than, I don't know, either firing all the fucking management and getting some people on board who can get to those games produced and out the door on time. It should not take more than a year to get Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers on the system. It should not take that time to get one system seller out. One system seller. It shouldn't take a year and a half to do that. And otherwise, the only constructive criticism is to keep making those 3DS games, Ninty, because damn, they're awesome.
And on the bright side, right, you'll now be able to tickle Pokemon.
Oh yes, there is got to molest them all.
Yeah. Open your mouth, Pikachu. Why?
As I said, it's all going to be fun and games until someone trades over a low punny, and then shit's going to get...
No. Right. So yeah, that was E3. Those were the press conferences. I don't want to end on a sad note. So
no.
If you could pick out one highlight from E3 so far, one thing that you're looking at that go, be it a game or a service or a thing or a peripheral or whatever, one thing that's made you go, "Ooh, hello," what would it be, Carl?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Well, I don't know. I obviously I've already said that Destiny and Titanfall impressed me a lot. I honestly, this has been my problem. I've been trying to think of something to say, oh, this has definitely caught my eye. I suppose, and it's something that we didn't actually mention in the previous ones, that Elder Scrolls Online is coming to consoles as well, and I think that's a big thing.
Also on Xbox One, not just...
That's what I mean, sorry. Yeah, it's coming to next-gen consoles as well as PC. But I don't know. I actually do not know. If I had to say like one game that has absolutely wowed me, I don't think there has been. Like, I've been impressed, but nothing has made me go, oh my god, yes, I need that right now.
Interesting. Yourself, John?
I'm tempted to say The Crew, but I still don't know enough about that yet to know even what it is, let alone whether or not I like it. So the annoying thing is,
It's going to be Mario Kart, isn't it?
It's probably Mario Kart 8. Just look at it. Look at it. Like, but the thing is, it could be that. It could be Super Smash Brothers. That looks great. It's probably Bayonetta 2 because goddamn, that looks absolutely unbelievably brilliant, machined by one of the best developers on the scene at the moment. Or X. X. Look at that game. I mean, Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy Versus 13/15 and Kingdom Hearts 3 can do whatever they want, but what I'm seeing right there is an open world next gen RPG that takes the term next gen and applies it to gameplay, not just graphics, revolutionary gameplay and mechs. Honestly, that was my highlight. That's why, that Nintendo Direct presentation was brilliant. And yet so profoundly heartbreaking.
I agree. I completely agree with you. Like I was jumping all up and around when like that Mario Kart 8 trailer.
I was out of my chair.
I was just like, I'm getting a Wii U. I'm getting it in a year and a half. And I was just like, how could you crush it so well and then drop the ball so near the end?
And now we're ending on that note again.
Okay, no.
I don't. We need to actually.
Because
Matt,
highlights.
what about you?
Most of my highlights, actually for current gen games, Watch Dogs, again.
Yeah. Looking
fantastic. Beyond. Carl, you mentioned I'm so interested to see how that sort of military background matches up to this homeless Ellen Page that we've seen in everything else.
Yeah.
Like that actually Beyond might be my highlight again because I'm so interested to see a development team that just never really plays by conventional rules. Just and what they're doing and the more action and we won't say this very often, but having a sort of more action oriented presence at E3 this year. Because the big criticism, obviously, of Heavy Rain was that you weren't really affecting anything apart from just making a decision or two, and sort of rotating the stick a bit. Having a more action-oriented focus in certain parts, we have no idea how deep that will go, but we know we'll be able to do some poltergeist possession fuck-uppery, which will be great. I'm so ready. I'm so intrigued by that game, and I know it's going to tell a fantastic story. I'm really excited about that. Really excited. More excited than most of the next gen reveals because I'm going to need to see more for them to be fully explained. I guess.
I think that was my issue. Like I say, I was impressed but not truly excited. Although I think one game that completely slipped by because it was the first thing that we saw that actually did come across as very impressive to me was Metal Gear Solid 5 stealth horses and this huge open world and Snake being a lot more agile, like jumping across buildings and things like that. That was actually very impressive. Like I think I'm gonna go with Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm gonna go with that.
That's a good call. So yeah, E3 2013, a mixed bag, a very interesting, a really, really interesting mixed bag. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see how all of these strands and possibilities and opportunities unfold over the next few months. We'll be keeping our beady eyes on everything coming out of LA this year and providing you with plenty of invective and commentary.
I'll handle the invective.
but for now, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. So thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next time. Bye.